So my name is David Rodriguez. I'm a stock worker, and I've worked for over 21 years with LAUSD. I decided to get into working for the district because it was something that's going to benefit a lot of children. Originally, that's what I was doing, and it was I also saw it was a decent paying job and had great benefits. Somewhere along the line, I never joined the union right off the bat. So somewhere along the line, as I moved up, I started out as a building and grounds worker, and I did that for 4 years, and then became a stock worker over at Procurement Services, which is the supply warehouse that services the entire district, all 1,300 plus facilities and schools. We started having some problems there. I joined the union. And shortly after joining the union, my coworkers asked me to become a steward for them, and that's what I did. And that's where the story really started. I was a steward for several years. Management didn't like what I was having to say. Every time the union tried to get me released to participate in different programs that they had, the management at the warehouse would deny it. I noticed that we only had about 68% of the employees there in the union who were members. A lot of people weren't in, and we'd actually had probably somewhere about 17 people who had actually gotten out of Local 99 at that time. I became a steward, and I started working closely with Miguel Morales and Willie Washington, and I learned a lot from them. I mention their names because I really thank and appreciate them for the time and the knowledge and the experience that they shared with me. And one of the main things I started doing once my management team wouldn't let me be released to participate in the union programs was I decided to go on my own little personal crusade there at the warehouse and not only get new people in, but to get those people who had left to come back in. I wound up getting 14 of the 17 back in. That's my feather in my cap for me. We also went up from 62% to over somewhere around 88%. It was a big swing. At the LMCs every month, they would sometimes say, well, you guys are the minority. And I started telling them once we were at 72%, I said, since when is 72% a minority of anything? I said, please stop using that term. It's offensive. They did. Long story short, I got fired. I appealed it. I was reinstated, and I came back. And rather than stay bitter and look for revenge, I thought I already had the best revenge possible. I got my job back. They have to see me every day from now on. I decided to just go on and start educating the members there. Just every time they would come in with something, I would ask them, I don't know, and I would ask them to look it up. We have a lot of people at the warehouse now who can tell you sections, articles of our contract, of their rights, because they've started to do that, and I take a little pride in that I pointed them in that direction. We had been doing okay. I was released for the MLA project, which is the Membership Leadership Academy. I was released the week before we were going to take our strike vote, and I did about 3 days of classroom work, and then I was out at the schools taking a strike vote. That was eye-opening. That was, for me, it was eye-opening. It was a game changer because I got everything from people who totally believed that we could do it to people who said there's no way we can ever do it. Once we heard the amount that we were asking for, which was a 30% increase, I got the same thing. I had a lot of members who were scared. I had a lot of members who were confused and didn't understand things. And I was trying to tell them, there's so many of us that we can shut the district down. I said, on our own, we can do it. We don't need anyone's help. Once I started explaining and breaking it down, how there would be nobody to watch the children, there would be nobody to feed the children, there would be nobody to take care of them, there would be nobody to bring them to school on their bus and drive them home, nobody to clean the schools. I was saying, from where I work at my position, there's going to be nobody pulling orders for food or supplies, nobody loading them, no drivers to go and deliver them. I told them we can literally shut the district down. Some of them started to see it and understood. Some of them were still scared. Some of them, there was some people who got angry at me when I was at their school. Literally cussed me out, told me that I was a jerk, or other words, for lying to the union members because we were never going to get 30%. I had this happen several times, both male and female members. And it was shocking. I was completely thrown for a loop, and I'm usually pretty calm and composed guy. Because here's a complete stranger, I don't even know their name, and they're walking up to me doing this. You know, you shouldn't be here doing that, and you're giving them false hope and going. And that was the beginning. They would finish off with a few choice words, and I was just like, I'm not going to repeat them. But just so you get the idea. And that was what I went through for about 2 weeks. Wild ride. I got everything. Another attitude I got was when I first showed up, they would say, oh, you're with the union. And they're like, we never see our reps, but now you need us. And I would explain, I'm a union member. I would tell them I'm a steward. And that would change. All of a sudden, oh, you're one of us. And it was like, and I kept telling them, I started explaining, you're getting down on our reps, but do you understand there's 30,000 of us? Do you understand there's less than 30 of them? Which means that's 3,000 for every one of them? No, 30, 300, 3,000, something. It's ridiculous math. And then I would break it down for them, and I would tell them, I want to ask you something, have you ever attended a union meeting? A single one? I said, because I used to go, that was my religious ceremonies every weekend. Once a month, I'd be at the union meeting. I'd be at Union Hall, the old one over on 8th and Hoover. I said, some people would, so if you didn't, and I would remind them that a union is only as strong as its members. I said, there's a lot of strong people here, but you don't realize what you have. Okay, now you're going to see it. You're going to find out what I already know. You guys are going to find out, and it's going to be overwhelming. So I went through that 2 weeks of being called everything from a hero to a jerk to a family ruiner, and because they're going to lose their jobs, because they're going to get fired, because some of them were being told that, and they're like, no, you're not going to be fired, this is legal. And so we go through that whole strike. Then we have the big rally at Grant Park out in front of City Hall. I was there helping. I was in the t-shirt booth. So people were coming in, registering that they were there, and then we tell them the t-shirt size, and there was 4 or 5 of us were picking out the size of the t-shirts, giving it to them. We had over 2,500 t-shirts. They were gone in 7 or 8 minutes. And that's how many people we had there. I don't know. All I know is later on, once we were freed up, I went out there and I started looking, and I saw people from us putting on those t-shirts, and some of them were already wearing their old ones, and they were going hysterical. They were going crazy. Some of them were laughing and smiling. Some of them were crying. And I was like, and I saw some people that I'd met, and we were like, oh, hugged, and they were like, I never knew there was so many of us. And I kept telling them, this isn't even half of us, because I don't think we had close to half of us there. I told them, this isn't even half of us. We have this many more. And that's when they started to believe, because I then went back out to, I think the following month, we went back out. Early in March, we went back out to the schools to see if we could get people to actually commit to going on strike. So I was back at some of those schools again. And sure enough, there was still some naysayers. There was still some people who didn't like me, but a lot of those people, they had changed. They were starting to realize that they were seeing the strength of their numbers. And like I was telling them, it ain't one person's going to do it. One guy walking around outside yelling and protesting by himself, he's just another lunatic in LA. But 30,000 of us. And I started telling them, and if some of you are parents, you be out there with your children. And some of the parents, you tell them to be out there with their children. You make sure that the district knows that we are just as important as the teachers and the administrators. We keep those schools running. We're the ones who are the backbone of that place. During COVID, teachers taught from school, taught from home. Kids didn't have to be there. But when they wanted to open the schools up, they had to bring us back. That was the proof. That was what I saw. That was what I started telling people. That rally, that was something else. They saw it. So then it comes time for the actual strike. Day one, I'm at the warehouse because I'm there at 3:45 in the morning because we were going to start our strike from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. It was 42 degrees. The rain was coming down in these big, giant cold drops that I swear to God, it felt like they came from Alaska. Didn't matter how you turned, it didn't matter what you were wearing, you got soaking wet with cold water. And 5 minutes in, one of our guys had brought his karaoke machine and he starts blasting. The band wore their song, Why Can't We Be Friends? And that was, that just sticks out. There was that, and later on, when we were with some of the drivers over at one of the gates, we were blocking it. We were allowed to block it for, I believe, 2 minutes, so we were blocking it, and the driver jumps out, gets out, starts filming us. We're filming him. He's saying he's going to start calling the sheriffs and whatnot, and if we don't get out of the way, he's going to run us over. And we told him, dummy, we're recording you. And he jumped back in the truck and drove away. We were going to clear out and get out of his way, but that's what he did. Those two things I remember basically about the strike, because other than that, it was just 3 days of miserable weather. It rained and poured on us, and it was just bad. I got really sick. I had to go to the doctor. I have health problems. Since then, ain't let them slow me down. The Monday after the strike, I called into the union because I was still released, and I told them I couldn't function. I really couldn't. I could barely breathe. But the Tuesday, I got up and I drove back to that one school where the guy called me a jerk and had his gotten in my face. I went back there, and one of our managers here at SEIU, Anna Kabata, she called me to see how I was doing. I told her, I'm on my way to a school. She said, oh, great. I was going to tell you to take some more time. I said, no. I said, I need to go do this. And I didn't explain to her that I needed to do that to see that guy, which is what I wanted to do. And I did. And I went in there, and the people, they were so happy. I was getting hugs, and everybody, thank you. And I was thanking them for doing it. And that guy walked into the break room. He said, well, he saw me, and I saw him. We didn't say a single word. We just looked at each other, and he walked back out. I felt so good about that. But I felt better for the people at that school and every other school of people that I helped. A lot of them, I identified some of them as people that I believed that they could become stewards. Some of them did come through with it. Some of them couldn't. I understood. But it was just going through that. I remember some of the people, and I was telling them, you got to become a steward. This is important. It's just 2 Saturdays you got to give up to complete your training, or what are you doing? And that's when I was told, well, it's because at my second job, Saturday is the day when I can get 8 hours. And I felt terrible because I don't have to work a second job, but that person did. That LAUSD employee had to work a second job, 8 hours on Saturdays when they could, and hopefully another 4 hours on Sunday. So a lot of these people working 7 days a week to provide for their families because they couldn't, even though they do an extremely important job for the district. And they could, and I saw that and I heard it, and it just made me realize that's why we need to do this even more. So that's what I went through. Those are some of the stories. I'm still a steward. I'm going to be a steward until I retire, which is hopefully another year and 3 months. But there you have it.
For future members of Local 99 listening to this, what you've just said years from now, what wisdom do you want to pass on to them? What would you want them to know?
For you future leaders, become stewards, get involved. If you don't want to become a steward, there's other things you can do. You can also get on the bargaining committee. Very important. That's very important. that's more for I'm more of a warrior for my union, so I don't like to sit around and talk that much. I'm not a bargaining committee member, but we do need that. That is very important. We also have other things you can do. You can be a leader at your school without being a steward. It helps, but you don't need to be. Because you're going to learn your contract, you're going to advocate for the other members, and you get them to self-educate about their contract. That's the most important, because knowledge is power. Knowledge is power, and it's very important. Once an administrator or a teacher or whoever it is that tries to bully you, once they understand that you know, they will start to back off. It's when they know that you don't know, then they push. So that's the best thing you can do. That, and just be strong. Attend the union functions. Be involved. When you get that email to vote on something, vote. Even if it's a no vote, exercise your right. You should be voting for what we want, but even if it's don't agree, just do it. You gotta be an active participant. You don't gotta attend to every single function. But be knowledgeable, be active, be aware of what your union's doing, and who knows, maybe in the future you guys get another 30% increase.
Yeah, just one last question. I know you guys have procurement, you guys are pretty unified already, right? How have things changed after the strike at work?
I still get questions, but not as many. Like I said, I love it. If we need to do this again, they are more than ready, willing, and able. We got a good group over there. They're strong. They absolutely believe now because they have seen. A lot of my own people at the warehouse were telling me the same thing. We'll never get a 30% increase. That was nuts. I should leave. I should quit. And a lot of those people apologized to me. Some guys, I went back, hey, let me get your lunch. Okay? And I said, hey, you can afford it now, right?